Hey everyone, I'm back with a recap and review of the next batch of episodes of Love is Blind Season 4. In this video, I decided to combine episodes 6, 7, and 8 all together. So sit back, grab a drink and a snack, and let's get into it. Episode 6 starts off with the couples in Mexico packing up their stuff to head back to Seattle. We find out that each couple will be moving into an apartment together as soon as they return. Then we get back into the Zach and Bliss saga. He tells her that Irina treated him poorly and that he was over her on day 2. Then he launches into some of the most extreme backpedaling I've ever seen, telling Bliss that when he was in Mexico with Irina, he was really thinking that she was the girl he was looking for, and that he knew when he rejected her that he messed up. He even tries to justify proposing to Irina when Bliss called him out on it by using the old, "there's more than one person in the world you can be with" excuse. Kwame and Chelsea are all smiles as they enjoy their first takeout meal together and discuss cleaning duties. Micah lets Paul know that Irina confessed her attraction to Paul to her. Paul finally reveals just how touchy-feely Irina was with him in Mexico. I think it's a little weird though that he didn't bring that up to her right when it happened, especially considering what close friends they've become. After, Micah says that knowing this information makes her feel a little insecure about their relationship. Paul reassures her that he has no intention of pursuing anything with Irina. Micah says that she feels that each day her and Paul get closer, and she's now ready to explore the physical side of their relationship. Marshall and Jackie talk about who they've told in their lives about their engagement. Brett and Tiffany are just so darn cute. That's all I have to say about them. Paul and Micah finally do take their intimate connection to the ultimate level. Chelsea and Kwame visit her home to pick up more stuff to take back to their shared apartment. Kwame can't help but notice how much pink there is and asks Chelsea what's up with that.
Oh my gosh, there's so much pink in here.
So much pink in here.
She tells him that her last relationship was with someone very controlling, so after it ended and she got her own place, she wanted to decorate it her way since he controlled how everything looked in the home they shared together. In a confessional, she tears up talking about how lonely the single life has been for her, which is a very common complaint singles have. But when she said she gets so lonely that she FaceTimes her friends when she eats dinner, I'm sorry, that was a little too extra for me. Chelsea is, without a doubt, saying yes on wedding day, and not because she's so head over heels in love with Kwame specifically. This woman is lonely and wants companionship bad. So I think any guy in the pods that showed her any attention, she would have latched onto them just as hardcore as she's latching onto Kwame. Tiffany introduces Brett to her friends. Her friends warm up to him right away and have a great time hanging out and getting to know him. Paul and Zach meet up and chat about Micah, Irina, and what they're both looking for in a relationship. Micah and Irina meet up. Micah confronts Irina about how she didn't appreciate hearing that Irina was pushing up on Paul. Irina admits that she did have a much greater attraction to Paul than Zach. Irina tells Micah that she doesn't have to worry about her feelings towards Paul. Micah tells her that she's not worried at all because Paul already told her she's not interested in Irina. The look on Irina's face when those words left Micah's mouth? Marshall cooks up a full-on restaurant-style breakfast for Jackie. She gushes about how much she can't believe that this is her life, waking up with a fiancé and one that can cook no less. She says she's never been treated like that before, which is obvious, because a woman who's used to being treated well by the men they date isn't going to be so surprised when it happens. Kwame and Chelsea have a very awkward talk about meeting Chelsea's family. She confesses that out of all the guys she's brought around her father, he's never liked any of them. Then the doorbell rings, and that's the end of the episode. Episode 7 starts with us meeting Chelsea's father. She sits him down and explains her experience on the show and tells him that they are officially engaged. Dad seems happy about it, but Chelsea does make the comment that she hopes the rest of her family will be as accepting as her father. What that's supposed to mean, I don't know. Paul's mother flies in to meet Micah. She tears up when Micah walks in. They all chat over a meal, and Paul's mom really seems to like Micah. No doubt that has a lot to do with how much they have in common. Brett shows Tiffany his apartment to gauge her opinion on if she would want them to move in there after the show ends. It's clear that Brett loves shoes and tech. Tiffany likes what she sees and says she could definitely see herself living there. I knew I hadn't seen the last of Bliss. She's back, and this time she comes to Zach's apartment. They have an extremely flirty meal together, and Bliss confesses that even though Zach did break her heart, she is in love with him. Even though most of the cast is from Seattle, Kwame is actually from Portland, and that's where he takes Chelsea to see his apartment, an approximate 3-hour drive away. It's clear that he is not a neat freak. In fact, his apartment looked pretty nasty, in my opinion. She says that she definitely sees them settling in Seattle because that's where her family is and her job, and since Kwame's job is remote, it's easier for him to make the move. Kwame definitely wants to stay in Portland. I have a feeling this is an issue they won't easily be able to resolve. Jackie is stressed out. She says it's not about meeting Marshall's family, which she is that day, but everything. Once again, Marshall tries to comfort her, but she's in her own head and not very receptive to it. She finally tells Marshall that she's worried about making the right decision at the end of this, due in large part to the fact that her family is not supportive of what she's doing. Marshall's sister, brother-in-law, and niece come over and meet Jackie. Paul takes Micah to his apartment. She can't believe some of the things she's seeing, and I can't either. Micah brings up the idea of bouncing back and forth from Seattle to another place she has in Arizona. Paul is not on board. Kwame is having a hard time getting a hold of his mom. He tries calling again, and she picks up this time. Typically, when calls are made on reality TV, they're put on speaker so both people can be heard. But in this case, only Kwame's end of the conversation is heard, which tells me that his mother did not give permission for her voice to be aired. I'm also going to assume then that we're not going to see her appear on camera either. Not surprisingly, after he tells her about Chelsea and their engagement, she gets upset, telling him, according to Kwame's reaction, that he's not making a good choice. Kwame quickly ends the call. Brett and Tiffany talk about what kind of lifestyle the other is into and how their finances will play into that. Brett admits that he does like nice things, which was clearly evident when she visited his apartment and saw that shoe collection. Tiffany then asks him what's the most expensive thing he's ever purchased. He says, aside from tech, he does own some pricey luggage, and Tiffany loses her mind. We're back to Zach and Bliss again. They're on a very nice boat ride, enjoying each other's company and some fruit, and they even share a kiss. Then...
Will you marry me?
Episode 8. We already know how this one's gonna start.
Yeah. What's this one?
Hey, if they're happy, I'm happy for them. But like I said before, I can't accept seeing a woman be okay with being a man's second choice. Brett and Tiffany have a lovely meal prepared by Brett out on their balcony. Paul and Micah meet her parents. They all have a chat about the engagement, the wedding, and their living arrangements. Then we have a melancholy moment with Marshall and Jackie. He says that his relationship with her at that moment was very bleak. She said that he needed to boss up and he wasn't being a man. So he left their apartment and went back to his for I don't know how long, maybe a couple of days, to cool off. He eventually goes back to their apartment and walks in on Jackie packing her stuff up. They get into it again, and she says her issue with him is that he's not aggressive enough for her. Here I am, thinking she's maybe talking about his ambitions in life, his ability to accomplish goals, something along those lines. No, she's upset because he's not aggressive sexually. Oh, then Marshall makes the mistake of clapping his hands at her, which is an aggressive gesture, is it not? I think it is, and therefore she should like that, since she's all about him being more aggressive, right? She doesn't and gets upset about it. Marshall tells Jackie that he's always loving on her, but she never does the same for him. Jackie fires back with asking him, what is he doing with her then if that's the case? Then Marshall says the quiet part out loud and tells Jackie that it's because he saw her as a project and thought she would eventually come around. He quickly backtracks when he sees how hurt she is by the comment and says that what he really means is that he sees limitless potential in her and he knows he can be that person to bring it out of her. Sir, that's exactly what you do with the person who you view as a project. Jackie apologizes and they embrace. This was the moment that really opened my eyes about Jackie and made me come to an unfortunate conclusion about her. Brett and Tiffany talk about the wedding. Not only do they seem to be the most drama-free couple, they both also seem very mature and focused on loving each other and building a great relationship. Zach and Bliss are moving in together. Yup, that fast. Zach talks about how overwhelming everything is with him having just moved to Seattle to start his own law firm and now planning a wedding that's only a few weeks away. Bliss confesses that she's cried so much over Zach that she has no tears left. She tells him that she definitely thought about never talking to him again after he chose Irina over her, and that she's probably going to continue to have an issue with being his second choice. Zach does his lawyer-level best to convince Bliss that she really isn't his second choice, because as he sees it, he doesn't want Irina, and only if he still did would he see Bliss as being a true second choice. Nice try, Zach, but I don't believe that nonsense for a minute. If Irina was all up on you the moment you both walked out of the pods, you'd still be with her.
Stop it.
Oh yeah, and Zach called Bliss pretentious when she hyped herself up to be the better choice over Irina. That really annoyed me. Why would you take issue with your fiancé feeling like she's a step above another woman that you walked away from? She is, in a way, hence why you chose her, right? Why you crawled back, begging for forgiveness, and hoping that she'd give you a second chance. I really hope that Zach isn't one of those men that likes to try to take a woman's confidence down a notch because he thinks she's overvaluing herself. Kwame and Chelsea take her dog to get washed and groomed. They get into a deep conversation about children. Chelsea wants to have them sooner rather than later, whereas all Kwame can talk about is traveling and the two of them getting to have more couple time together. Chelsea asks the question she should have asked a long time ago to Kwame, which is, does he even want to settle down? His response is, why wouldn't I? Which, as far as I'm concerned, is not the same as saying yes. Girl, he just went on a whole spiel about travel while you're trying to have a discussion about when and how many kids you want to have. You're clearly not on the same page about this. And here we have more evidence of Chelsea's need, and dare I say, desperation, to get married and have a family. Like she said earlier, the single life is very lonely for her, so she wants this wedding, this married life, this family life, yesterday. Paul and Micah attend her best friend's birthday get-together. Shelby, the blonde and whose birthday it is, admits that she's very critical of the guys Micah brings around. Micah even jokingly says that she's single-handedly ended some of Micah's past relationships for her. That revelation really turned me off. That's not cute or funny, I don't care how you want to look at it. The other friend, the brunette, Michaela, puts her 2 cents into the conversation as well. Things then go all the way left when Shelby asks Paul a question about Micah, and before he's even gotten a full sentence out, the friends start laughing and making fun of how articulate he is. Micah tells Paul in not so many words that if Shelby has a bad first impression of someone, then it's all going downhill from there. Paul says he doesn't care, and Micah doesn't like that response. Paul excuses himself to go to the restroom, and of course, Micah and her friends use the opportunity to talk about him while he's gone. Michaela says she likes him. Shelby gives Paul a thumbs down. Literally. All the couples get together to celebrate Chelsea's birthday. Josh, drunk as a skunk, walks in, or rather dances in, to everyone's surprise. Everyone's minds are completely blown when Zach and Bliss walk in. Marshall walks in, by himself. He tells Chelsea about the falling out he had with Jackie. I guess the hug they shared the last time we saw them didn't completely smooth things over, since Marshall says that he doesn't even know where they stand right now. Tiffany and Kwame have a talk. He tells her that even though they have very different lifestyles, there is no better match for him than Chelsea. He does bring up the whole issue on compromise, though, and how he doesn't want to feel like he's bending over backwards too much. Marshall talks to Brett about his issues with Jackie. He gets into a little more detail about Jackie wanting him to be more aggressive in the bedroom, actually meaning that she wants him to be physical and slap her around a bit. He says he realizes now that she wants a toxic kind of love, and that's not who he is and never will be. Jackie finally gets there. Josh tries to talk Paul's ear off about Jackie, but I can tell he doesn't give a damn. Kwame and Micah talk and share their reservations about their upcoming nuptials. He goes on again about the special place Micah still holds in his heart. Paul talks to Zach about some worries he has with Micah. Amber's back. Paul mentions that she thinks she's beautiful, but he's happy with Micah and wants to avoid anything that could jeopardize what they have, so he doesn't so much as even say hello to her, which I kind of found a little suspect. If he's all in with Micah, Amber's presence shouldn't faze him. Marshall and Josh finally talk. Their interaction was weird, scary, and cringy all at the same time. Josh, I think, even sprinkles some words in Spanish in there. I don't know. I thought he was even going to kiss Marshall at one point. Josh pulls Jackie aside later to talk. He tells her that he really cared about her, but he puts someone else's feelings above his own. She calls his bluff and tells him that they never talked about emotions, feelings, or anything deep or meaningful in the pods. She says that he was never open with her, so she doesn't understand where all this is coming from now. He tells her that he had to come to tell her how he felt, and straight up asks her if she's going to marry Marshall. So that's it, guys. That is the recap for episodes 6, 7, and 8. The next batch of episodes, I believe, are going to be 9, 10, and 11, and I will do all of those in one video as well. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you then. Bye.